If you're a B2B SaaS founder and the thought of jumping on a sales call makes you break out into a cold sweat, I get it. I've been there. Those first sales calls are nerve-wracking. And a lot of founders dream of building SaaS businesses so they don't ever have to talk to customers or learn sales. The allure of product-led growth. But the reality is that basically never happens. Here's the deal. Learning how to navigate enterprise sales is a game changer, and every successful SaaS founder I talk to eventually learns to love and embrace sales as an enormous growth lever in their business. And unless you come from a sales background, which most founders don't, you probably lack some of the polish and efficiency of a sales framework. And that means you're leaving massive revenue opportunities on the table. Let's solve that. In this video, I'm going to break down the 5 simple steps you need to walk through to drive sales in your SaaS business. So there's no sales process without leads. These are people who could be interested in buying your SaaS solution. And there's a bunch of ways to get leads. Which is right for you depends on your market, your product, your funding situation, and your ICP, your ideal customer persona. If you aren't sure what an ICP is, I've made an entire video about it back on my channel. You can check that out right here, and the link for it is in the description below. Here are just a handful of options to gather new leads. First is long-form organic content. This could be blogging, YouTube, podcasting. It's one of the primary lead gen sources we use to drive my SaaS business, Castos, to 7 figures and beyond. And these are a mix of both self-serve customers and enterprise sales opportunities for us. Organic content is nice because it continues to work long after you hit publish on that piece of content. But the challenge is it can take a long time to ramp up, and you're kind of unsure as to the attribution of new leads from that medium. Social media marketing, and I'll include both paid and organic here, is a really solid option, and LinkedIn is definitely kind of the channel du jour these days for most B2B businesses. But don't discount Instagram, Twitter, or even Facebook as viable channels for you and your business depending on your ICP and where they're hanging out. Paid search is another great one, and most of us here think of Google, but it also could be YouTube, Reddit, G2 Crowd, Trustpilot, or anywhere where people are going for information about an existing product. Next is cold email, and following the predictable revenue style model here is interesting. Instead of picking up the phone and cold calling people, you're proactively reaching out via email to see if someone is interested in your product. I like this as a good way to initially test product market fit and messaging early on in a venture. Cold email is getting more challenging, so if you're going to do this, you got to really take it seriously, know your stuff, especially from a technical perspective. Conferences are an interesting option, especially if your ICP regularly attends them. This typically happens more in the enterprise space as opposed to the SMB market. Maybe my favorite way to get new leads is through integrations and integration marketing. Not just the integration itself and the value of combining 2 pieces of software, but the cross-promotion opportunities between you and the audience of the integration partner. There's about a dozen more channels that you could try, but the key here is to understand the principles of why lead gen could work and decide whether it's best to implement into your business and for your customers. Rob talks about lead gen in the SaaS playbook, and if you haven't picked up a copy yet, I'd highly recommend it. It's a great read for any founder. Now it's time to turn those leads into prospects by nurturing and developing them. You know, most founders feel lost when they start engaging in sales activities in their SaaS business, but as a founder, you have a sales superpower because you're able to talk to prospects at a level that most sales reps never get to. You have really deep empathy for the problem that your prospects are facing and how your solution solves that for them. And depending on the channel you select, the engagement step can be done via email, on your website, or on an opt-in form, on a confirmation page, or at the beginning of a sales call with a prospect. Talking about the strategy aspect of this engagement step, the key here is to warm up this new lead and guide them into the sales process. This is both mindset as well as like the practical next steps they could do to become a customer. I see this most commonly done by providing a valuable piece of content as that first next step. This could be a pre-recorded demo, a white paper, a welcome message, some way to encourage them to take that next step with you, which is usually to book a call. So this call is the first active step in the sales process, and you're getting on the phone with your new prospect. Here, you're looking to verify the need they have, their budget, their willingness to buy, and to make sure that your solution is a good fit to solve their problem. And depending on the complexity of your sales process, your sales calls can either be a single longer call or broken into 2 separate calls. If your sales process and the product you're selling are relatively straightforward, I'd opt for a single sales call. These are usually between 30 and 45 minutes in length and combine both the discovery phase and the demo or pitch phase. If you're selling more to the enterprise, you'll want to be prepared for a 2, 3, 4, or 10 step sales process. And here the first call is all about discovery and qualification of your new lead. And don't feel weird about this. If you're new to the enterprise space, just rest assured this is just how they buy. It's how things are done. And in these sales calls, you'll ask a lot of questions and understand why they're looking for a solution like yours, what their budget is, what kind of timeline they're on, and what requirements they have for a solution. You want to ask about the buying process here as well. What's the next step you can take to move this deal forward? Either way, in the qualifying step, your goal is to understand the customer as deeply as possible. And the salesperson, or founder in your case, who best understands the needs of a prospect and can relay that back to them in the discovery phase will win a deal every time. And that should be your goal. In a minute, I'm going to talk about closing the deal without being sleazy. But first, if you're looking for a solid, comprehensive playbook to go from just an initial idea to landing your first customers, you should check out the SaaS Launchpad. There's over 9 hours of content that go all from an idea to launch with your first SaaS. Rob Walling lays out his strategies and tactics for finding great business ideas, creating MVPs, and I teach a 35-minute section that goes deep on sales tactics and strategies for early-stage SaaS founders. You can see the whole curriculum and learn more at saaslaunchpad.co. Now that you're done with the discovery phase, if your prospect is a good fit, it's time to close that deal. Get some money in your bank account. And if you've never done this before, believe me when I say it is the absolute best feeling ever in business. But here's the thing, closing is not about some sleazy tactic to get someone to say yes or using persuasion to get them to sign up with you. No, if you've done your job well in the discovery phase, then the demo or close is all about relaying that information back to your prospect of how you can solve their problem with your product. I want to make sure this is really clear, so I'm going to double click on this. The goal of a SaaS demo or a pitch is not to share every last thing your product can do. In fact, you'll likely lose most deals if you do that, right? But rather, the goal is only to show the few things that your prospect just said is really important to them. And a lot of times this could be just 1 or 2 screens or a really key integration. And that's it. Don't overcomplicate it, both for you and your future customer. And once that's done, ask if they have any questions and get them to commit to the next step. And the next step can be getting their credit card information and signing them up as a customer. It could be booking an onboarding call with your success team. It could be kicking off a pilot program. Whatever that natural next step in the buyer journey is, offer that to your prospect as a way to help guide them through the buying journey. In my opinion, the biggest cheat code in SaaS is expansion revenue. And if you're not familiar with it, here's the deal. Expansion revenue is growth that happens when existing customers pay you more money each month. So you don't need more customers to grow. You grow just by your existing customers paying you more money. Expansion revenue usually is a function of your pricing model. If you have built in a way for customers to naturally graduate to the next pricing tier, many of them will naturally end up paying you more over time. So here's just a few metrics on which you can achieve expansion revenue. And the first is units, right? If you're an email service provider, think of email subscribers. If you're a CRM, you might think of seats. If you're a web hosting provider, think about some kind of usage. If you're a podcast host like Castos, think about maybe downloads or private subscribers. Or if you're someone like OpenAI, you're thinking in terms of credits, right? Expansion revenue is often just a natural byproduct of having a really great product that customers become more successful over time. And as a result, they're happy to pay you more money as their business grows. And let me tell you from firsthand experience, if you don't have expansion revenue baked into the business model of your SaaS product, it will be quite difficult for you to grow past a certain point. And that's usually a couple $1 million of ARR. So we're fortunate to have a bit, but almost every high growth SaaS business I work with has a strong element of expansion revenue baked in. And besides expansion revenue, the next big unlock is turning your existing customers into brand ambassadors. And there's no stronger lever of growth than word of mouth, but it's hard to engineer, really. I think it all starts with a world-class user experience, and this is where me as a salesperson has to kind of tip my hat to our product team. We've built a really incredible product, and as a result, we get recommended a lot in the podcasting space. So you want to make sure that your product is just that good. You'll get inbound leads organically, naturally, for free, and on autopilot. If you're a SaaS founder who's looking for more content on sales, I publish videos like this every week over on my channel. You can check it out over here and subscribe today. Up next, check out this video for 6 strategies for landing your first 10 customers. Thanks for watching.